So, there's a couple things we need to talk about today. So, one of which we started on Friday. So if you're not here, we talked about a couple topics. Number one, we talked about insurance. We've already went through all the insurances, full coverage, and liability. We just talked about the charts again, and just how it works and how you save money and all that. But now, the new thing we started, this was section, I think it was 5.4. We started talking about mileage. And we did a single example at the very end of class about mileage. I have one example, and I thought it was kind of important we need to discuss this. Obviously, not everyone was here, so I think it's important we have all of us get to see this. This is our next section we're going into. There's a couple different topics that go with this section. So, number one that we had to talk about, put it in different color. The big one is talking about the odometer on your car. Okay, if you don't know what an odometer is, it is the little gauge on the front of your car, on the dashboard anyway of your car, that keeps track of the mileage you've been driving for the car. You can reset it on certain electronic cars, but the overall odometer, the long-term life of the car, that number doesn't change. You can't roll that back. There's certain programs that will, and there's a fail-safe to check whether it's the real number or not. There's some shady dealerships that sometimes roll back the mileage on cars and say, hey, this car only has 30,000 miles when it should have had 60. And that's a little shady. So usually dealerships around here don't do that. There's no reason. We have pretty good prices on vehicles anyway. But it would be, the vehicles I know that do it would be a very high-end exotic car. And I'm not going to say the name because they sue everyone that talks about it. So I'm going to leave them out of it unless I turn off the camera.
Turn off the camera.
And I'm not joking. So I'll tell you at the very end of class who I'm talking about. So the odometer. So
how they find you up, though?
Yeah, they'll find me out. So, okay. So you have your gauges on your car, right? So the one thing you have the speedometer, right? You have the speed that you're going, the speedometer. Then you have the tachometer, right? The tach is where your the actual revs, the RPMs that your engine is spinning, the crankshaft is spinning at, and so those are the two. But below it, typically, there's usually a digital gauge, or it could be an old school actual flip, counter. This is the odometer. On most modern cars, now they're just electronic. It just tells you the number. You can change that so it tells you trip 1 and trip 2. So you can mark what I use trips for. If you don't know, a trip. Maybe you are trying to
play triple.
Yeah. So you have a trip 1 and a trip 2. There's some settings, and that would take the place of the odometer. On trips, you can mark it so you can keep track of the mileage after you have an oil change. That's what I use trip 1 for, right? So I got an oil change. I reset my trip 1 by just holding usually the little button on the dash, or sometimes it's on the little stocks that you're flipping, your indicators, or maybe there's buttons on your steering wheel. But I reset trip 1, and it keeps track of the mileage I've driven since I reset it. So when I get an oil change, I reset it, so it says back to 0, and then it counts up, and when I get to 3,000 to 5,000 miles, I go get an oil change, somewhere in that range. Right? So I try to get oil changes pretty regularly. I don't need to have synthetic. I can go a long time. I just try to get it regularly.
Regular maintenance.
Yeah, it looks good on resale value if you get your oil change consistently on a very clean basis. Now trip 2 for me, and this is optional. Sometimes you can use trip 2 as maybe a vacation. Maybe you want to know how long you've actually traveled on your entire vacations. I know that's what my wife likes to do. She likes to reset trip 2, and then so when we're on vacation, oh man, we traveled a total of 1,000 miles on this vacation. Okay, cool. What I actually use it for me, is I like to keep track of my miles per gallon. I keep track of the mileage I've driven. When I get gas at the pump, I see how many gallons of fuel I put in it, and I divide it, and it tells me my miles per gallon. And I can see, what my car is at, right? So that's what I use it for, so it keeps track. Now, when you hit the little buttons on your dash or your steering wheel or whatever, you can bring back the odometer. This number never changes. It's the entire life of your car. There's ways to go inside the ECU of your car, that's the computer of your car, and there's another dial inside your car that keeps track of the overall odometer reading. So in case somebody were to mess with this one, because you can sometimes on the older cars roll them back a little bit, or in digital cases you can reset it. There's another one inside the car that can't be reset. So you can double check and kind of verify that's the right mileage. So they can be slightly off by 1/10 of a mile, maybe just hasn't rolled over yet. but they shouldn't be out by more than 5 or 6 miles. There's probably a major flaw there. But yeah, so the odometer is kind of a big thing. But again, the idea that I was talking about was, what that gauge is. So when you're looking at the odometer on your car, this is typically what the gauge looks like. And, I'll put some numbers in here. And typically the last one is a different color. So usually this gauge is some different color. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's white. It's just a different color than the rest of them. So usually most gauges are like black here, and then the last one's red or white or orange. I've seen orange before in certain cars. But the last number, white's a different color, is the decimal point that you're driving on. So on the mileage on this particular vehicle, you traveled 9,468.7 miles. Right? Maybe that's the odometer reading. It's nice to know that. Maybe like this is what I talked about on Friday, was like for my motorcycle that I have to keep track of the odometer. I have to keep track of this because my fuel gauge on my tank for my motorcycle, my little project bike, it doesn't register right. I mean, it'll tell me that I'm full when I'm almost empty. So I have to keep track of how many miles have I driven, and it's a ballpark, right? I know that on my motorcycle I can go 200 to 300 miles and then I run out. If I'm being economical, if I'm really, kind of revving it hard or riding it hard, it'll be less than that. But I get a sense for like, okay, I'm at about 168 on my mileage. I'm probably, 3/4 of a tank full. I can just open up the gas tank of my motorcycle and check, but on a car, you can't just open up and see how much fuel's in there, right? It goes down the tube and it's in the bottom of the car and you can't see it. So sometimes that's the way you have to do it. I know with like older cars, they're like my uncles and stuff who work on cars all the time, they strictly use the odometer to know when their car's about to run out of gas. There's no other way they can do it. They don't put the little floater on the tank to know exactly when it works, because they just don't care enough to do that. So yeah, it's one of those things like the odometer can say, I can tell you how many miles you've traveled since your oil change, that type of thing. But the big thing I want to know today is this. This is the big one. Miles per gallon. What is your fuel economy? That's what they call it. How many miles can you drive per gallon of gas? The bigger the number, the better it is, right? So maybe it doesn't correlate to horsepower and torque. It doesn't correlate to any of that. It just tells you how economical your car is. How far can you drive? I'll give you examples of the vehicles I've owned so you guys can see this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a website that keeps track for us, okay? So, this is the part where I need you to pull up your Chromebook now. And we're going to look at a couple of the vehicles I've owned over the years, and I think this is kind of the fun one to do. Okay, so you have your Chromebook. I'll give you, because I've had a lot of cars in my days, you guys have seen the list of cars I've owned. I'm going to give you each a different car that I've owned, and we're going to look at the fuel economy. Now, the website I'd like you to go to is fueleconomy.gov.
Can we do like ours if we want to?
Oh yeah, you can do yours too.
Even though mine says how much I get.
Yeah, I know. Most electronic cars, or most modern cars do hey, you're getting 24 miles per gallon today. Cool. Good for you. But yeah, we're going to check it just for my car, so if you maybe you don't have a car, you can use one of mine. So I'll give you kind of some of the options I want you to look at. Fueleconomy.gov. Now, I don't know how to spell, just type in Google and see if it'll pop up. For me, when I type in fuel, it automatically pops up on the top. And it's a government website, so it's recommended first. All right, so now when you're on fueleconomy.gov, you can search by vehicle. You can search by miles per gallon. You can search, there is a ton of links on the website. In fact, I'm going to bring it up right now so you can see what the website looks like. All right. I'll bring it up over here so you guys can see this. Here it is. Our government very, very nicely has put together this website because of all the assessments and ratings that cars have to go through, and they've kind of stockpiled information for you so you don't have to do the research yourself. You can make educated information. They even have apps in the App Store that'll help you. What I like to do is go click on the Find a Car up here. So it's in the upper left corner. You can see my cursor up here if you're looking up here. It's right up there. that idea. We're gonna do find a car. Now, here's the cars that, if you don't wanna use your own car,
Do you do find a car home?
yeah, so find a car and, yeah, so it's right here, find the car. And then we're gonna type in the car. Now, I'm gonna give you 3 of my vehicles you can choose from, okay? Actually, no, let's go 4. I'm gonna give you 4 of the vehicles I've actually owned or still currently own. So, first one you can look up is a 2002 BMW 330 Ci. That was one of my first cars I owned out of college. It's a 2002. Okay, that's one of the cars you can look up. If you don't like to look at that car, you can look up my 2003 Chevy or Chevrolet 2500 HD Silverado. My pickup. It is not a diesel. If it asks you for the engine, it is an 8-liter. It's the biggest engine that Chevy ever made. It is not fuel economy. It is not fuel efficient. I think the government website says it gets a rated gallon of 8 miles per gallon. And that's highway. And it's probably the most inefficient car past. I think it's even worse than a Hummer, an H2 Hummer. I guess like 10 miles per gallon. Okay. Next vehicle you could look up. It was a 2010 Jeep Liberty. It was a 4x4. It was the 3.6 liter V6, I think. That was not a very fuel efficient car for me. I don't know why. Maybe that car was broken. And the last car that I currently own is a 2015 Buick Encore. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a little off.
For what it says for your car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because mine hasn't gotten drove much, so then
Yeah.
it's a little lower.
Yeah.
Mom thought about taking it to work and evade us on it.
Yeah, you just gotta get the fuel to run through it a little bit, get the lines to open back up a little bit. Now, again, just like you heard here with Graf, he was talking about, it's gonna be off. These numbers will be off. The reason why is it matters how much you drive your car. It matters the type of fuel you put in the car. It does matter the fuel you put in the car. Better the fuel, better the fuel economy you get. It's not just getting the cheapest gas. Sometimes they get you the best fuel economy. Sometimes it's worth it to put the expensive stuff in because you can drive it longer. I know that seems really weird. It does make a difference. You can see it. It just burns better in your car and it will actually make it better. It'll last longer. All right. If you looked up your own car, that's great. Did anyone look up any of my cars? Please, what did you look up?
Chevy Silverado.
Okay, this is the 2500. Okay, it was a V8, 8-liter. What's the fuel economy it's saying?
It's saying 23 miles per gallon
Okay.
in the city and 33 on the highway.
Okay. Now, here's the thing I want you to check.
Burger.
What year was that?
That was, this is a 2020
Okay.
Chevy Silverado.
Yeah, that's a 2020. I agree. 2020 is super good economy, right? That's really nice. Mine doesn't get that. Back in 2003, mine was rated at 8 miles per gallon. It gets 6. Highway. I can just watch the gas gauge. If I drive down to Ames from here, full tank, it's a 25-gallon tank on this truck. I can watch the gauge move all the way down to empty as I drive.
It's only giving me 2020s.
Yeah, it only gives you 20 minutes, and that's, so you can research. If you go and you, eventually, if you click on the website, you'll be able to find out miles per gallon. So like my miles per gallon up here, it's a little tab. You can research the car. These will give you new cars usually in the Find a Car, but if you go to mine or advanced cars and
No,
tools,
you can do it through Find a Car.
Can you search
And
yours?
then there's things that pop up to find, then there's Find a Car, and then Like you can do the what year to what year,
Yeah.
make, model.
Yeah, so there's a couple options. My BMW actually had really good miles per gallon for me anyway. My BMW, I could consistently get about 28 miles per gallon. That was pretty good for a 300 horsepower car that was just a rocket ship. It was twin turboed. It was a rocket. Now, that was pretty good.
Good horsepower if you
Oh,
do.
it was ridiculous how fast that car was. I was gonna get in trouble. I'm glad I got rid of it. Jeep Liberty,
But that's
terrible
a-
miles per gallon. I don't know, I think I had maybe an issue with the fuel pump on this vehicle before I got rid of it. I had it for about 2 years and I didn't really care for it. It just didn't fit my needs. I was only getting about 13 miles per gallon. Was not very good. But then when I talked to other people that have them, they got about the same. So it wasn't just my car. But on the sticker it said that I should get about 18 to 20. I wasn't getting anywhere close to that. So I thought maybe there was a problem with the car. Because if your fuel efficiency for your car, you know, it's like you get consistently 28, or it says online you're supposed to get 30, so 20 is close enough. But suddenly you start getting like 15, like it drops significantly, you have an issue with the car. And it may not be your fuel. Something's going on in the car and you need to get it checked out. Something's wrong. Maybe the air conditioning unit went out, or
Those are
the radiator.
expensive.
Yeah, the radiator's going out. Like it will, like the fuel efficiency of your car will tell you there's an issue with it before any dash and light Christmas tree lights up in your dash. Something will go on and it will affect your fuel efficiency automatically. Your battery could be dying and it will affect your fuel efficiency. The Vio Encore that I have right now, it's really good miles per gallon. I consistently get about 34 miles per gallon. Yeah, that's really good. It's probably the better car that I've owned. And it's small, it's super economical. It's like a 1.8 liter, it just sips gas as I drive. I really like it. It's really just kind of a plain car. I just needed something with four-wheel drive that was really tiny, that got really good gas mileage. Because I can't drive this everywhere. Like I can literally so you guys were too young for this, but when I was just graduating college and we were in the era of the second Iraqi war, our fuel prices around here spiked around Iowa. Price per gallon was $4.35 per gallon here in Iowa.
At least you don't live in the Bahamas where it's 6 or 8.
Yeah. Or in Great Britain right now, Great Britain's average price per gallon is $8, $9 per gallon. And that's normal for them. That's not like at a weird time during the year. That's normal. But around here, we're at $4 per gallon, okay? It was $4.35 the most I ever paid. I was driving this at the time.
That's a rich
On a
man.
25-gallon tank, $4.35. I was spending $100 in gas.
That's a rip to the bank.
A
account.
week. Because if I drove it from here to home, like Garner to home, I would use almost a quarter of a tank. I could watch it go down. So, it was just really not fuel efficient. Now, the reason why I have the truck, you're like, why would you even keep that truck? It pulls wagons out of my field for me. I can pull a tractor out of mud with my truck. That's what I use it for. So, that's just why I have it. It's the biggest truck Chevy owned at the time. And they have never replaced it. They've never gotten anything near that. They have newer trucks, but nothing with that type of power and torque. So, the Jeep, yeah, I just didn't like it. I eventually went to a GMC Yukon. It got about the same miles per gallon.
Have you seen
as a
that
better
new Jeep
vehicle.
they have that picture? That teal color?
Mm.
That's a really pretty color.
Yeah.
Is
A lot
that
of people don't like
is that
it.
is that the Wrangler? The one that was up there? Was it a Wrangler? Really square looking? Okay, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the teal colors. They had a couple of really bright colored ones.
Like it's a teal. It's like I would like that if I was like near a beach and
Yeah.
stuff, but it looks cool. But it's like it wouldn't suit me.
No. My Buick Encore, I like it. Eventually I'll trade it off. I'm looking at the cars you actually researched. I'm looking at getting a Ford Focus, actually. That's what I'm looking at right now. Really heavily looking. I always want a Tesla. I'm still on the lookout for a Tesla, but right now they're out of the price range. I can't get one that's a decent value for less than what I want to pay. So right now I'm looking at a Ford Focus. I like the hatchback. That's just my style of car. It's just really convenient. I can throw lots of stuff in it and take my friends with me when I need to go somewhere. And it gets really good gas mileage. That's why I just like the type of car. Some people hate them. I don't know, it's my style. I like them a lot. Now, The reason why I bring this up, fuel economy, it's a big part of owning a car, right? How much gas you can put in? Like, just me talking about my truck, I saw your eyes like kind of bug. When it matters the price of gas and how much your fuel economy is on your car. You know, and it also matters the size of the tank that's in the car. Most cars have about a 12 to 14 gallon tank. If you go to a truck, it could be bigger. Like my truck had a 25 gallon tank. I know that the Prohaska boy, Joseph, he has a tank that's like 30 to 40 gallons or something like that on his diesel. Because they just need to have a bigger tank because it's not fuel efficient. It's just, and that's what they use for, you know, for farming and
But
stuff.
then he also can use
Yeah.
diesel out at the farm because they have
Exactly.
two different fuel barrels.
Exactly.
And
So-
sometimes if he's getting really low, he'll get desperate and put a tiny bit of,
That's dangerous doing that.
yeah, put
So-
a tiny bit of the tractor fuel in it. But it's just, they're pretty much the same thing, but different colors.
Yeah, and that's how they market whether you're putting it in your own vehicle or not.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Test strip down in there.
All right, so here's what you're looking at. So now what I'm showing you right now is called gas prices AAA, or fuel prices AAA. I think it's gas prices, I think that's what they call it. This tells you the gas prices in the United States on average. On average. I like to use this when I'm going somewhere to know what am I going to pay per gallon. If I'm going out to California, is it going to be an expensive trip or is it going to be cheap? Right now, it's kind of expensive. So just let me show you this. The beauty of this map, if you just hover your mouse over it on the AAA, it'll tell you the price in each state. So Iowa's about $2 a gallon, roughly. You know, that's an average. It's not the premium stuff. It's not the lowest price like
It's middle.
ethanol. It's like the average between them. So I get a sense it's about $2, maybe $3, you know, in that range. If you go to near states around us, about 2, okay? If you go out west, the prices start creeping up. Price in California, it's about $3 on average. If you go down to Texas, the price is about $1.80. If you go down to Florida, it's about $2. So you can kind of see the prices. And when it gets to the really small states on the East Coast, you can just click down here. You can see kind of what the little abbreviation for those states are. They're about 2. Wow, what is that? White is expensive. Holy moly.
When we went down to Texas, gas was only, like diesel was only like $1.95 or like $1.90 or something. It was cheap.
Yeah. So not too bad. So now they colored the state because I know like there's certain parts of the state you can get cheaper gas, usually on average. Like for a long time, the Ames, like Des Moines area, had really cheap gas compared to the rest of the state because they're getting it from certain vendors. And now North Iowa is super cheap right now compared to the normal state of Iowa. It was really nice when all these quick trips are going in next to Casey's because they're creating a price war. So they're really cheap gas, which is really handy for us. We see the benefits of that. During a recession, when we're in lockdown, did anyone notice what the price of gas went down to?
It was like
90 cents or whatever.
99 cents. I haven't seen that price since I was in high school. Price of gas when I was in high school was about 99 cents.
Every time I kept using the gallon.
Yeah, it was nice. Super easy. Super easy to calculate. It's about $1 a gallon. So you knew, like, if you had a 14-gallon tank, it's going to cost you $14 in gas.
Really good for my car and $10.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
Yeah, it was super nice. And then, during a wartime or during a crisis, gas prices spike. Our government sets the price of gas, what they buy it at, and what the average is. And it's one of those things you have to think about it. Now, you guys looking at this map here? Look at this map for the gas prices. I want you to take a look at this. Okay? Just look at where the reds are. Those are the more expensive gases. Look at where the lower price gases are. Those are the dark navy blue. Those are like the lowest prices on average. Where the lighter and white, that's kind of middle. And then when you're getting to the pinkish red. Okay, do you guys see these prices? Now, I'm going to show you something. And this is my own theory. Okay, you guys looking at the colors here? I'm going to show you a different picture now.
Oh, like newer or older?
No, this is a picture from 2016. Okay. Okay, you guys seeing this? All right, here we go. Let's get rid of that. My There we go. Okay, so you saw that one, right? Next one. Okay.
I wish we did.
Okay. But this wasn't gas prices I'm showing you here. This new picture isn't gas prices. You see all the red states? Those are all Republicans that voted for Trump 2016. It was the Electoral College chart. Okay, look at the Republican, that's what they call them, Republican states. Okay, you see them? Which ones are not Republican?
Iowa.
Yeah, the blue, right? So the West Coast, and then some of the upper East Coast, and then there's kind of a scatter of the ones in the middle. And the ones in the middle were really close. The ones in red were Republican, they voted for Trump. But the ones in blue, roughly, were the ones that voted for a Democrat, okay? But then I want you to look at the prices per gas. The price per gas for a Democratic state is higher. This is a conspiracy theory. I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm telling you right now. I don't think that's a coincidence that the prices in Democratic states are higher than Republican states. Because if you look at this map, everything that voted Democrat are higher gas prices. Every single one. And I don't think that's by accident, which is sad.
Want higher gas prices.
You don't. You don't. And I think, and this is my theory, I'm thinking our government is psychologically affecting the election this way. I think they're voting it this way. So I think that's interesting because it can sway. It can sway the vote. So that is my own theory. Take it with a grain of salt. That is going off of no other information than just me noticing it this morning. Noticing this chart, and I went, wow, that looks very convenient to the way we voted in 2016, where the higher prices are versus all the low prices. I thought that was just really weird when I saw that. It was just, it's too convenient the way it's set, if you see that. Anyway, not a conspiracy theory, that's just something I noticed this morning. All right, fuel economy, gas prices, we're gonna look at this stuff tomorrow. I'm gonna give you a list of vehicles that you're gonna have to go research. You will need a Chromebook charge tomorrow. I will give you a list of cars you're gonna have to go find their miles per gallon. You're gonna have to find the size of the fuel tank, and I'll only pick 2020 vehicles, so I'm not gonna pick anything old. So I'm gonna pick just a newer vehicle. And I'm gonna pick some different types, some trucks, some cars, some vans, maybe a supercar here and there. And then you're gonna have to go find the fuel economy of it. You're gonna have to find the price of a gallon of gas for it, and what the size of the tank is, so we can figure out how much would it cost you to fill it if you were to run it thin. Okay, but that's it for today. I thought that was kind of an interesting day to look at stuff.